Welcome to the Morally End. My name is Bob Machado. I'm joined by Dominic Machado. We are here to discuss a slightly disappointing result for Sri Lanka, but the boys showed a lot of heart and soul. 232 all out in reply to Bangladesh's 248. Just not quite enough. If you haven't heard about the Morally End before, we talk about Sri Lankan cricket essentially all the time. At the moment, we generally do a live show once a week, except when they're playing in series, and we're in the middle of a series now. So we're doing reaction immediately after the show. I mean, the game finished minutes ago.
Yep.
Dominic, the professor of cricketology. I'm still buzzing with adrenaline, Dom. Joins me now to discuss it. Dom, what was your takeaway from that game?
I'm still trying to digest. So much was going on, so much happened, so many twists and turns. A typical Sri Lanka Bangladesh match. Thoughts off the top. Tanvir was so good. I mean, he was the match winner. He just made it really, really difficult for the Sri Lankans to bat. He bowled really, really tightly and really well. And I think where the two spots where I think Sri Lanka lost this match are first, the last couple over of the Bangladesh innings, right? They had them at 214 for 9, and it was Tanzim who got 3 sixes, I think, off of Hasaranga, and that's just unacceptable. You got to put them away when they're
that's the margin, isn't it, right there?
Right? That's the margin right there. Yeah. And then the middle overs today, just the inability to rotate strike and keep the run rate at a healthy rate, because at the end it just proved too much scoreboard pressure. And yes, the Bangladeshis bowled well, but someone like a Kamindu's dismissal is something that he'll look back at and think, I could have done better there.
Yeah, firstly, I think I've got to say that this is a hard thing for me to say, but I think Bangladesh played really well today. Like especially in bowling those middle overs where they just stopped us scoring runs.
Yeah.
They kept it incredibly tight, frustrated our batters, and we started to. I want to say leak wickets, but actually that's not true at all. I mean, the Bangladeshi bowlers had to work hard to get our boys out today. Kamindu got out in quite an uncharacteristic fashion. I'm not suggesting that we changed a lot the top order, but I think someone needs to have a chat with Patham and Madishka at the top there, because it's not quite working. And on comms, they talked about how Patham's failed in ODI cricket the last 4 innings. So he failed. I mean, he hasn't scored big runs, which I was surprised about. The best moment for me for that game was when Kusal Mendis was going absolutely nuts. But the minute they got him out, Sri Lanka just seemed to absolutely grind down. I think kudos to Liyange for hanging about as long as he did to pick his kind of time to go for it and try and finish the game. And he nearly got us over the line and would have become a kind of instant, obviously he's a legend for me because he plays for Sri Lanka anyway, but he would have become a legend on the streets of Colombo, Kandy and Galle. People wouldn't have forgotten that kind of performance if he'd got them over the line. And he very, very nearly did. But I think, in a way, Dom, considering that this series and all the kind of bilateral white ball cricket that we play is a build up to the next ICC tournament, I think actually there's a lot of positives to take away from Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
And
so, I think that the thing you just talked about, Kusal Mendis, he was great. I mean, he looked $1 million, and he was kind of unlucky to get out. I thought he was far enough down the pitch to avoid that, and it seems like it's kept that ball kept really quite low. But he looked really good. The intent was there, and I think when you have a total like 248 to chase, you just want someone to get out there and get that quick 50, 60 to just knock it off and take the scoreboard pressure off, because by the time he got out, all they needed was 4.1 runs and over, right? So from there, you think, okay, that should be fairly elementary. But as you said, kudos to Bangladesh for bowling well. I think a lot of people still say Bangladesh isn't good, but they're a very, very solid side. Tanzim is a very good bowler. He scares me every time he starts with the ball. You saw the class of Mustafizur at the end, right? That over against Chamira where he just couldn't do anything. And then the spin bowling was really quite excellent, as we mentioned. So I think we've got to give them credit. I think we also have to point to Asata Fernando. We've questioned his position in white ball cricket, but he was absolutely fantastic today.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, when I saw the team this morning, we haven't even talked about our 11. And we kind of that should have been the place where we kind of started that, because I wonder if, in hindsight, we might have got it slightly wrong. But with Asita in particular, I'm just worried that it's this classic Sri Lankan thing of just bowling him into the ground, right? He plays 10 days of Test cricket, then he jumps straight into 2 days of 50 over cricket.
Yeah.
I assume after today that they're going to play him. The fact that the series is all to play for, they'll play him on Tuesday as well now. They did make 2 changes. Milan and Ishan Malinga got dropped. I wasn't surprised that Milan got dropped, because I think it's a horses for courses thing. I don't think he did anything wrong there. And I think, Welle is knocking the door down of coming into this side. I was surprised that Ishan Malinga got dropped, though. Not because I don't rate Dushmanta, I obviously do, but I thought he's one of those people that you kind of put him in and you give him a bit of time to kind of figure out the format.
What do you gain, right? We're talking about a 2027 World Cup. What do you gain from dropping him at this point? I don't think particularly much. The other interesting aspect of this is that Chamira wasn't in the original squad of 15 that we saw, right? So he's leapfrogged Dilshan Madushanka. And again, he's someone we want to see more of before that 2027 World Cup, even before this 2026 World Cup, because the skill set that he has as a left arm quick who can seam and swing the ball, that's just invaluable. So you kind of want to see what you have. And I get that Chamira has bowled well. He bowled well in the IPL. He's bowling with good pace. He's a great bowler, but you kind of know what you have in him. Give some of the other guys a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. I was surprised that Weller didn't stick about a little bit longer with the bat.
I wonder, and this is my thought with Liyange's innings, is I thought he played well towards the end of the innings, but I thought some of the dot ball pressure that built up while he was there may have caused some of those wickets to fall.
Yeah, so I thought it actually started a little bit before him when Kaminda and Charath were batting. I thought they were being overly cautious.
Yeah.
And I kind of understand that maybe they'd felt like they needed to steady the innings and anchor the innings. But the thing that happened was what if they're trying to anchor the innings, what you don't need to happen, where they basically just got out for not scoring a lot of runs.
Yep.
Kind of a bit like Patton. I think Kamindu needs to kind of figure out ODI cricket a little bit. I think that's what this series is about, in a way, for both sides, right?
Yeah,
it's trying to give these guys an opportunity, the space to grow into the space.
And the pitches obviously are not helping, right? Because we made Tanvir Islam look like the next. Yeah, exactly. Like look no different than Shakib, right? It was as if Shakib was there and was tying us in knots. And it did not help us. I think for players to get started and get going. And I think that's where you see someone like every player, with the exception of Liyange, who scored some runs, started with some intent and with some desire to score. And even we can talk about Hasaranga's wicket. I think he needed to go for that shot.
Yeah, I agree.
I turned to my family who was watching with me and I said, there's a big shot coming here, because you could just tell, oh, you've been tied down by these guys. You've got Mehdi Hassan Miraz spinning the ball into you. It's ripe for a slog sweep. That's what he's that's kind of what he's out there to do. But if he trusted Liyange to kind of pick off 5, 6 and over, then there's less pressure to play that shot at that particular situation.
Guys, if you're watching the live stream, then feel free to put your comments in. Dineth has commented in. I think Janeth may have made some mistakes with trusting tailenders with the strike too much. I agree with that, Dom. I thought he let Chimera face too many balls. That
Yep.
I can't remember which over it was now, but the kind of penultimate over just before Janeth got out, where it wasn't quite a maiden because there was a wide in the first ball,
Yeah.
but I was like, that totally threw momentum back Bangladesh's way at that point.
Right.
And
They took
I
15 off the last over, and you just don't take that last single. You can live with 14. And
yeah.
because it's a tough task to ask any tailender to face, and even game awareness, right? You should be aware that Fizz is going to bowl that over, and it's going to be very tough for any tailender to handle that. Like, I don't mind trusting tailenders generally, but when you're doing it to someone who really can do your batsman, that's not a good move.
The other thing I will say, right, is I couldn't understand why the Fizz didn't just bowl straight at Chimera, because it looked to me like during that over in particular, he was really struggling to hit the ball. So I kind of felt if they just bowled straight at the middle stump, he might have kind of basically got himself out of the way and got himself out. So I was kind of surprised at that a little bit, but yeah, I agree that maybe the kind of strike rotation at the end wasn't quite right. Also, what I will say in Janet's defense is when the run's called, right? So you just gotta run. So there's always kind of nothing he can do. Maybe. Tikshana Praveen, not the player. Can you create good pitches at RPS? What is the art of creating a flat wicket? Like, is there something wrong with the soil at RPS? It's so slow. Why? I'll be honest, right? I don't know enough about topology to be able to talk about whether or not it's possible to create good wickets or bad wickets, and what the soil situation might be. What I will say, though, is cricket is a multi-million pound, or multi-million dollar, or billions of rupees of industry. And Sri Lanka is involved in that conversation. This is meant to be one of our premier sports grounds, so there should be the funds available to do what needs to be done to make the pitch do what it needs to do. Just one more. Go on, Dom. Sorry, I was going to say one more little thing. Yeah. I don't know if that's the kind of pitch they wanted to be prepared.
Yeah, that's what they said, right? They said that they wanted flat wickets that were conducive to pace bowling, and that's why they selected the squad that they did. So that kind of gets to Tikshana's point. Maybe there's something at the RPS. The real test case will be at the 2026 World Cup, where the ICC will pour tons of money into preparing pitches that produce good results and good matches.
Dennis has written in, if you're watching, send us your comments. Also, has this exposed some over-reliance on winning the toss at home? I wonder how much our recent home dominance has been supported by the toss, which we have been winning a lot. I think today's loss was more about actually Bangladesh being good. And also, I think the fact that we stayed in it for so long showed great character. Like, obviously I wanted us to win, don't misunderstand me. I totally wanted us to win. I hate losing any game of cricket, particularly to our nearest and most bitter rivals. Not nearest, but most bitter rivals. I thought the fact that because there were so many moments when I thought, this is it. This is a collapse. This is a collapse. This is a collapse.
They fought it out.
We fought it out and got quite close in the end. Was good. I still think, you can go back to that Hasaranga over where he gives him 16 runs, 18 runs in an over. He gets a wicket in the end, but you're like, at what cost? Well, actually, you would have much preferred he didn't get the wicket. Bangladesh batted out the 50 overs and scored 20 less runs, right? So, or 15 less runs. We would have won today.
It kind of makes you think about the captaincy there, right? Because you're facing tail enders. Give them some pace to try to score off of, right? We know Wani is devastating, but if there's one weakness that he has, he can be hit for sixes because he sometimes tosses the ball up. I thought generally today he bowled really quite well until that over, and it turned out to be sort of match turning.
So I also like, even with his batting today, right? Because I thought in the grand scheme of when he's batting, today was a good day for him with the bat, right? Because I often feel he bats best when he knows what his specific role is, or when he's got a job to do. Today he had both, right? His role was to kind of sit there and kind of get us closer to the target, and the job was to try and win the game, right?
Yep.
But that said, I think this is why I'm like, I see. I think because he's such a special player, I think you've got to give him the space to make mistakes, right?
You want a little bit more, right?
Yeah. So I kind of understand why he ends up bowling those overs that he does. They seem to have a real strategy for when they're going to bowl him now, right? We're not going to see him before the 15th over, I don't think.
Which is interesting. It's an I mean, and maybe it's Bangladesh specific because they're so left-hander heavy at the top.
Yeah, possibly. We will see against Zimbabwe, I suppose. But I think that I just get the impression that there's a whole mechanism in the background at the moment trying to get the best out of him as a player.
Yeah, I hope so.
And because of that, we're seeing a lot of kind of things like that are happening that aren't. There is an argument that you could say today he essentially that over lost us the game, right? But yeah, so part of the conversation that I wanted to have around that is that I think Sri Lanka needs to start thinking a little bit earlier on about how to win matches in the process of the 100 overs that you're expecting to play.
Exactly.
This is quite an interesting question. Deekshana Praveen. Who's going to be SL's best ODI batter by 2031 ODI World Cup? All our batters will be 30 plus. Dom, do you want to?
I'm going to go Patham Nissanka. It's either Patham Nissanka or Charath, I would say. So we have
not Kamindu.
What's that? Best not ODI batter.
Oh, okay. So you don't think Kamindu will suss it out and figure it out?
I think he'll suss it out, but I think that Patham and Charath are a bit ahead of him at this point. And our batters in their early 30s, what kind of things they do. So my prediction is that Patham will continue to go from strength to strength. He'll become an even better batter, and he'll be scoring loads of runs like crazy.
Yeah, I wonder, because I think the thing about kind of modern cricket is actually lots of players kind of don't peak to their kind of mid 30s, like early
30s, right? Kusal has just turned 30, right? But you can see the difference in his style of play. He feels confident in who he is as a player. And he was the one guy who came in with a plan on this is how I'm going to win the game, is scoring runs quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which sounds quite an easy plan.
Yeah.
But I just not sure people like there's that much going on with it. Like as in I'm not sure other people are coming in thinking what their plan is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna chuck out a name that if this works out, I will be hailed as a genius in 2031. Where if it doesn't, then we'll forget I ever said it and we'll move on. That's Sharujan Shamuganathan, who is often referred to as the baby Sangha, isn't he? Little Sangha, who's in the under-19 squad at the last time they played. So you never know. You never know, right? 6 years time, he'll be in his mid-20s, I think.
Yeah,
something like that. So he could be, he could be the one. Hopefully that comes off, and I look like a genius. Dom, it's all to play for on Wednesday. Look, I love hating on the Bangladesh cricket side, but
they've outplayed us. They've
outplayed us today. They out-thought us. They out-everything us. The last 12 times these two teams have played each other in ODI cricket, it's 6-6. That is an incredible stat, right? It's so rare that rivalries actually
are that evenly. Yeah.
But it means it's set up quite well for a big evening.
A very intense game, right?
Yeah. I'm already looking forward to it. I think it's interesting to me how much Bangladesh had improved in the 3 days since the last game, and I'm looking forward to how Sri Lanka punch back on Wednesday.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think they've got to tighten up their bowling, be more tactical with it, and I think we've got to. One of the positives of the first 2 games has been that, apart from our 2 openers, kind of everyone who's meant to score runs has kind of scored runs.
Yeah,
but we just need to be in this.
2 openers in Kamindu, right? Everyone except those 3, right? But they haven't put it together as an actual unit, you know?
Yeah, so I think that's what we're waiting for, right? Them to come together as a unit and to get the big runs, and go and win the series, right?
Yep, that's what we need. Big score, defend it, win this series.
We've got it in us. We've got it in us to beat everyone. We've just got to go out and do it. Oh, here we go. I don't know, man. If we don't win the T20 series, I generally think this is a big failure. The most recent series losses include the USA and the UAE, 3-0 to Pakistan as well.
Look, Mark, you know I said this. Someone put 9-0 against Bangladesh. And what did I say? I said, do not count that team out. They're a talented side. You can see they got plenty of talent. And they play their best cricket against us. They rise to the occasion. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's as big a deal losing to them. As long as you lose with a reasonable margin.
We can't lose to them in T20s. That would be a bad.
Look, our T20 side's a totally different beast, right?
Very different game, and we should be ramping up. Not,
Yeah. I'm not expecting us to lose that. Right, Dom, should we wrap it up there? We'll be back
wrap it up there
after the show after the game on Tuesday. We're the Murali End. Please subscribe, hit the follow, tell your friends, tell your family. Leave us your comments. We love hearing from you. Come in and join the party. See you all later. Bye.